G'day guys and gal. We all know the Horus Heresy, when a bunch of demigods suffering from male pattern boldness didn't get enough attention from their daddy, hence decided that the only reasonable course of action would be to sell their souls to the lords of hell and try and destroy the entire galaxy. It was fun, it was dramatic, and it was wildly entertaining. However, a big drawback was that for the majority of the traitor primarchs, they just kinda sucked. They all became these mustache-twirling villains with very weak motivations, whilst the loyalist primarchs stole the show. They battled with their loyalties and they questioned themselves, but they ultimately saw that becoming a fleshlight for demons was kinda retarded, hence they didn't do it. But what if the roles were reversed? What if all the loyalist primarchs and their legions actually became the traitors? What if the traitors became the loyalists? What would change? Would the Emperor be better off or worse? Would the original traitor primarchs be as universally loved as their loyalist counterparts if they were only given their time in the sun? The Dornian Heresy, one of the original Horus Heresy fanfics, aims to tackle these questions. There are quite a lot of what-ifs regarding the heresy, but the Dornian is complete, and even comes in this nice PDF that I'll link below that I read in one session because I'm a fucking nerd. There are others like the Rebootian Heresy that I may cover if this video does well, but today is all about Dorn. Today I'll be going over the Dornian Heresy, talking about how each Primarch changed, who dies, how events change, and what the end result is. Let's get into it. To set the scene, the Dornian Heresy generally follows the canon timeline events all the way until the All-in-All Triumph, with small changes here and there to help justify the Primarch's motivations more. For example, in the Dornian Heresy, the Emperor helped Angron and his gladiators defeat their evil overlords rather than just let them all die except for Angron, like with what happened in canon. Another key difference is that during the Council of Nicaea, instead of dunking on Magnus and forbidding him from using the warp, the Emperor ruled in his favour, securing the loyalty of Magnus and the resentment of Lehman. As in canon, Horus is struck with a Nurglite disease that rapidly begins to kill him. In canon, he chooses chaos to save his life, hence kicking off the heresy, but in this timeline, Horus has the chaotic taint removed for him due to the efforts of Magnus, as well as the now holy and not evil Erebus. Who knew Erebus could ever be tolerable? He's probably still a pedophile, but at least not a demonic one. Horus discovered the existence and evil of chaos, and he vowed to overcome it, greatly pissing off the Chaos Gods who thought he would be their champion. Other canon events play out similarly. Conrad Curse still accidentally attacks and nearly kills Rogal Dorn, before fleeing with his legion, and Russ attacks Prospero with his Space Wolves, this time due to his own personal vendetta rather than the Emperor's orders. A big change, however, is that Guilliman declares Ultramar as independent from the Imperium, hence he becomes the target, the enemy. Guilliman and his forces assemble on Istvan, and due to the sheer size of the Ultramarine Legion, acting War Master Rogal Dorn, who took over whilst Horus was recovering from his wounds, called for the aid of the other legions in putting down this secession. The Raven Guard, Iron Hands, Salamanders, Empress Children, World Eaters, and Dark Angels joined Dorn in his fists. The Imperial Fists, Iron Hands, and Salamanders landed first, and they had a bloody battle with the Ultramarines, but it was all for show. Dorn then told the Raven Guard, Empress Children, and World Eaters to back him up and help him finish the easy battle. As the forces of Corvus, Angron, and Fulgrim landed, they were fired upon by both Ultramarine and Dornian forces. It was a massacre. The Loyalist legions were only able to survive due to Angron going full Leroy Jenkins on the traitors, solo fighting them and buying his sons enough time to escape before he was cut down by Vulcan. Fulgrim and Ferrus fought, but without the Layer Blade, Fulgrim couldn't get the kill and had to withdraw. Corvus and Fulgrim escaped, and the extent of Dorn's betrayal became apparent. Guilliman had baited 3 loyalist legions into Istvan as a part of a deal with Dorn. Leave G-Man's empire alone, and he would help crush Dorn's enemies on that day, and that day alone. Now you might be scratching your head at this point. Why were the Emperor's Children and the World Eaters loyal, and why were the Salamanders, Iron Hands, and Dark Angels traitor? Why was Dorn a traitor? Dorn's fall to Arch-Heretic was due to his overuse of the Pain Glove. The gods of chaos had turned their eyes to him and filled him with doubt to make him feel like he was a bad son, so he abused the fuck out of himself via the Pain Glove until his sanity shattered, making him an easy target. The Iron Hands fell because they came under the influence of the Void Dragon. The Void Dragon wished to reclaim his massive shard hidden under Mars, and they knew that a Dornian heresy would be their best bet in claiming it. Vulcan and his salamanders fell because, I kid you not, no one wanted to hug Vulcan, so he got really fucking bitter and he hated everyone. Also, he got horribly disfigured by fire at some point, which probably had something to do with why people didn't want to hug him. But yeah, in the Dornian Heresy timeline, for whatever reason, everyone kinda fucking hated Vulcan, which made him super duper sad. The Dark Angel's loyalty is actually the same as canon, but the way things play out is different. In canon, Luther joins Chaos and basically fortifies his world and just kinda stays there. The Lion fights for the Emperor during the Heresy, and after it he goes to Caliban and he gets ambushed before entering a coma. However, in the Dornian Heresy, Luther is more proactive, and he takes his traitorous Dark Angels to help Dorn whilst the Lion is stuck in the Ghoul Stars. When the Lion returns to Caliban, instead of having a greater force and winning the battle, Caliban's defenses crush the Lion's fleet, with Luther beating the Lion in a duel. The Loyalist Dark Angels are scattered in a warp storm and the Lion vanishes. Luther then declares all non-Chaos Dark Angels to be the Unforgiven, before making it his life's work to capture the Unforgiven and force them to renounce the Lion. So it's basically a nice little switcheroo there. The World Eaters were loyalists due to two reasons. Reason A was that the World Eaters and Angron were implanted with a crude aggression chip rather than the Butcher's nails. The aggression chip just made them aggressive. It didn't jerk them off when they were violent like the nails did. It was also way easier to remove. As such, when Angron was escaping from his slaving overlords, the crude aggression chips caused some of his gladiators to lose their shit and begin killing innocents rather than follow the escape plan. This disgusted Angron, who vowed he would never let his rage overcome him. The next change was that Horus was accompanying the Emperor when they found Angron. The Emperor wanted to beam Angron up to the ship like a retard as he did in canon, but Horus talked him out of it, and instead they joined Angron on the battlefield and they saved him and his gladiators. Angron was grateful and happily joined the Imperium. The aggression chips were also removed. Angron and his World Eaters saw aggression as just as much as a slaver as the ones they'd known on Nucrea. Hence they became dedicated to discipline and martial prowess, legendary warriors who never gave in to the bloodlust. Wow, I'm already loving Loyalist Angron, who would have known? Here's my favourite though. Fulgrim stayed loyalist because after defeating the Leia, hold on, let me check my notes, he was like, fuck these guys, and he bombed their temples to dust rather than exploring them like he did in canon. Hence no Leia blade, baby. In the Dornian Heresy, Fulgrim is way more of a pretentious prick. He wasn't as close to Ferris as he was in canon, so he didn't have the iron-handed man to balance him out. So whilst he was less likable as a loyalist, say that 10 times quick, in the long run he stayed true to the Emperor, which is nice. The Raven Guard are an interesting one, as they only became traitors after the Dornian Heresy ended. They were bitter after the events on Istvan, and Corvus was desperate to rebuild his legion. Too desperate in fact, which resulted in him creating abominations instead of Astartes, which he eventually culled. He employed the use of Fabius Bile to help him, but all Fabius did was poison his legion more and eventually capture and corrupt Corvus himself. Corvus then pledged himself to Titsnitch, causing the Raven Guard to become more like a psychic demon version of the Alpha Legion from canon. Makes sense? Okay, cool, let's continue. After the Istvan massacre, the lines were drawn. After attacking Prospero, the bloodshed had caused the misguided Leman and his space wolves to pledge themselves to Khorne, whilst the Black Rage had been twisted by Nurgle, causing the Blood Angels to turn into a bunch of zombies that had to eat corpses to maintain their sanity. Dorn also had a large Imperial Fist force stationed on Terra, as he was, the Praetorian of Terra. Hence the Fists were able to surround the Imperial Palace and force the Emperor to basically bunker down in the throne room with his custodian guard. The Nurglite traitor Blood Angels arrived to reinforce the siege that the Fists were having on Terra, but then out of nowhere, the Night Lords arrived as well, but this time, they were loyalist. Conrad had reflected on his life and he realized that his visions were not set in stone, hence he had to try save his father. The Night Lords waged guerrilla warfare on the traitors, but they didn't have enough warriors to truly end the siege. The Iron Hands attacked Mars to try retrieve the Void Dragon Shard, whilst Dorn, leading the rest of the Imperial Fists as well as the Salamanders, arrived to begin the siege of the palace in earnest. Then Horus and the Iron Warriors arrived to try and counter siege Dorn. At this point there was like 3 sieges happening simultaneously, it was fucking awesome. Eventually, Perty came face to face with the heavily corrupted Sanguinius, and the brothers fought. Blah blah blah, epic titanic primarch clash, blah 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 blah. Perty gets fucking murdered to death and life goes on. Poor guy just can't catch a break. Dorn breaks into the throne room, but discovers that the Emperor has been extracted by the Night Lord some time ago. As the Webway Gate was never broken, the Emperor could focus and spend his time fusing his essence with Astronomicon, which then erupted and burnt away a lot of the corruption on Terra. Then the White Scars arrived, who had fallen to Slaanesh after Slaanesh promised them that she'd give them all a V12 twin-turbo engine for all their jet bikes. The White Scars were a lot like the canon Emperor's children. They just fly around killing civilians and whatnot. With the palace fallen, traitors everywhere, and the Death Guard unable to make it in time, and the evil Dark Angels and Space Wolves on the way, the Emperor knew he had to end the heresy in one clean stroke. Conrad boarded the Phalanx and destroyed its shield generator, allowing the Emperor and Horus to teleport on. They found Dorn, surrounded by his dead Terminator bodyguard, as Dorn said that when the Astronomicon erupted, it cleansed the chaos from his soul, and he had killed his own bodyguard as they were corrupted. Horus believed Dorn and was relieved, and he walked forward to hug his brother, but that is when the Emperor noticed the corpse of Conrad. Conrad had died disabling the ship's shields, and he had taken Dorn's bodyguard down with him. Before the Emperor could warn Horus, Dorn stabbed Horus through the chest and killed him. The Emperor and Dorn fought, with the result being more or less a mutual kill. Dorn was dead, but the Emperor was even worse off than he was in canon. The loyalist Abaddon found the Emperor's corpse, and he took him back to the Astronomicon so that his soul could merge with it and act as a spectral god for his people. With the death of Dorn, the traitors scattered and the heresy ended. So as we can see, way more damaging than the canon heresy, which makes sense. Dorn is a top tier Primarch, and he had the aid of the other top tier Primarchs. Purdy, Angron, Curse, and Horus were killed, whilst the traitors only lost Dorn. During the heresy, the Alpha Legion were focused on destabilizing Ultramar, whilst Lorga was just trying to get everyone to get along. Morty and his Death Guard were stranded halfway across the galaxy due to their warp drives and navigators being sabotaged. Unlike the canon ending of the heresy, where many loyalist Primarchs remain active and rebuild the Imperium, the Dornian heresy results in the Imperium being rebuilt by Abaddon, as Lorga, Morty, Magnus, and Alfarius were not at all suited to this task. While the canon Horus Heresy is overall, a lot better, something I liked about the Dornian Heresy more so than the other fan-made heresies is the fact that it wasn't just a straight up team swap. Gilliman would never join Chaos. It makes zero sense. He's just too ordered for that. But for him to leave the Imperium and form his own empire is believable. If put into Mortarian's situation, Sanguinius also would have taken Nurgle's offer, so it's not shocking that he did so here. Like, the dude nearly fucking joined Slaanesh because a demon said it would make his son stop drinking blood. That's how easy the man is to manipulate. As I said, the Dornian Heresy PDF is a 76-page thing, so I can't just fit in every nuance and detail into this video, but this was the Dornian Heresy. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. Only $1 per month give you access to a boatload of Dornian hentai. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more fan-made content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.